This is Terrence Andre Banks with Information Age Financial Solutions, coming to you again about the baby boomers. And at this current time, they're going to be the most important generation we're going to pay attention to, that we need to pay attention. I did a number of videos about this. I came across this op-ed article from Medium. I'm not a place that I visit frequently. I didn't hear, but the title caught my attention. What the hell are we going to do about the boomers? And I hope any baby boomers who maybe watch my channel do not get offended, but it just brings some interesting information and a different kind of perspective, especially if you've ever felt yourself in the same situation, which I have when I'm trying to discuss different things with certain relatives. My relatives are losing their minds, literally. There's a mother whose strokes in her hippocampus have left her with no short-term memory. I'm sorry, my relatives are losing their minds, literally. There's a mother whose strokes in her hippocampus have left her with no short-term memory. Walk out the room for 5 minutes. Upon she returns, she asks, "When did you get here?" The knobs have been removed from her stove so she doesn't burn down the house down, forgetting there's soup on. And aunt sleeps 18 hours a day like a cat and occasionally lapses into a walking dream state in which her long-dead mother is still alive. She still insists on driving a car to the grocery store. There's a father who lives alone in a huge house, drinks half a liter of rum a day, and regularly calls in the early evening, emotional, drunk, lonely, with nothing to talk about but stories of his past we've all heard 100 times before. There are older relatives needing constant care from daughters and sons, or tended into homes that cost upwards of $20,000 a month. All of them refuse to give up their independence, insist on being attended to, and cling to their life's wealth as it's the only thing saving them from drowning. Now, if anything, these series sound familiar. It spoke to me because I have some relatives who are like this. Not my immediate mother, my mother and father-in-law, but I do have aunts and uncles who fit this description, who are of the baby boomer age and getting older than that. They go on living and on and on and on, and as huge necessary chunks of their lives, mobility, money, memory, flake, and break away, leaving them demanding more and more from the young remaining. Speaking of money, vast swarms of financial predators, large and small, circle them. They get daily calls from India about computer protection programs they never purchased and are bombarded with emails promising return of what they lost or never had. Better memory, more money, greater mobility, youthful skin, and regular bowel movements, and a good night's sleep. Hair, sex, the scams get more inventive every week. Last week, my father-in-law received a call from our daughter. The girl on the phone had all the names down, his, hers, ours, and she said she had flown to some Midwestern city before our aunt had died and now needed money. Unbeknownst to the criminals, we just left their house that morning. A friend's older uncle received a call from a stranger claiming to know his secret, which we reward to the world unless a few $1,000s worth of Walmart gift cards were purchased and left in some to be disclosed location. "What secret?" he asked. "You know," the caller said. "But I don't," he said, and then he hung up. I deleted thousands of sales scam on another. This is the same aunt who's bought $1,000 worth of Iraqi dinars and anticipate millions more when the currency is devalued or something. They buy more garbage than China can produce. They fill their carts at the dollar store, shove all that crap in overloaded cupboards at home, and then go back for more. I wish I was either kidding or exaggerating here, but if I'm not, if anything, this is a shadow of the truth. The boomer generation's youngest member is now 54, and as a group, they are 65 million strong, the largest generation in American history. They are the children of the late 40s, the 50s, and the early 60s, who came up of age in an era of unprecedented prosperity and hard-earned luxury. I'll repeat that again. They are the children of the late 40s, the 50s, and the early 60s, who came up in the age of an era of unprecedented. Unprecedented prosperity and hard-earned luxury. No wars, no famines, no economic disasters occurred their entire lives. The hardships they endure pale to what had become before. The one great threat, the fall of capitalism and communism, never happened, never even received the violence they experienced directly. Like almost everything else in their lives, only explored the violent part of the conflict to Asia and South America and other places where the people weren't white, even in their own country. They grew up with massive infrastructure projects. The U.S. interstate highway system, the power grid, and the water supply were all completed while they were still young. Their parents were fortunate in a time that saw 2 world wars, a Great Depression, and pandemic disease, a generation who vowed that the children, the boomers, who never suffered as they had. Hardened like steel by the experience, the great generation succeeded. Universities were state-funded, the government was greatly expanded to include Medicare and Social Security. Peace was built through diplomacy and American dollars. The environment was protected, parks were built, and waterways cleaned. So what have the boomers done as they have aged? Well, for one, they elected Trump. I'm not stating, I'm just reading an article. And also Reagan and also Clinton. Before that, they put their own in charge of every state government and federal agency that could, and promptly began turning to an entire system towards their personal needs. By the 1980s, they were the largest voting demographic in America, precisely when income inequality began to rise. By 2007, the 1% increased their wealth by 278%, while those in the middle, the working class, saw a mere 35% increase. They took full advantage of the state-funded universities, and when they no longer need education, they shifted all financial burden to students themselves, increasing college costs by over 600% since 1980, and slashing public school budgets. Not only have they retired unless compelled, 25-cent they will never retire, they've hollowed out the core jobs and societal features that brought so many of them to the middle class and beyond. Universities are now taught by underpaid adjuncts with no benefits. Unions are all but gone. Wages have been stagnant since they themselves maxed out salaries and moved into investments in capital 30 years ago. Property, stocks, funds, and such. They hold the vast majority of the world's wealth, yet continue to argue for austerity, lower taxes, and fewer services. In England, the British baby boomers hold 80% of the UK's wealth and bought 80% of all high-end cars, 80% of cruises, and 50% of skincare products. They also voted into Brexit, and they aren't passing it on. One survey found that nearly a third of American baby boomer millionaires would rather pass the inheritance to charities than to their own children or government institution or into future savings. 57% said each generation should earn their own damn money. Thank you very much. Over half thought it was more important to invest in children than in adults. Though heaven forbid that investment apply to schools, they lock their own healthcare money into place through state and company pensions and Medicare, then slash it for everyone else. They did great things in the youth. It should be acknowledged. We cannot deny that the civil rights movement cleaned up a lot of the environmental mess, maintained peace, defeated the Russians, but they fought the sins and demons their parents never fully conquered: racism, sexism, disease, and poverty. They took for granted the foundations their parents laid to make their victorious successful, and are now banning and squandering them. They're completing a kind of circle, one in which medical breakthroughs in wealth and leisure and consumer goods and information vastly improve their lives at the start, yet somehow makes it tragically worse at the end. For children, 21st century progress makes a life safer, with less threat of disease or hunger or violence than ever in history. It opens their future to hope and possibility for those at the end. It creates only the illusion of more youth. The 21st century makes a younger life better, but it makes an older one worse. Nothing has prepared us for the baby boomers' return to infancy. We babysit and change diapers and monitor, feed and clean and nurture infants and children because they are moving forward into life and hope. We care for the elderly because we owe them dignity at the end. But what if they don't deserve it, don't care for dignity? There is, of course, an obligation to care for those who raised us, who had children themselves, and help them into the future. Ignorant for a moment that generation to follow the boomers, Generation X, was one of the smallest in American history, and one was only grudgingly allowed to keep a fraction of the world they inherited from their parents. Children are kind of a tyrant, one we endure because they are also powerless and need us. But what if the tyrants also have all the power? What if these children insisted they needed no help, thank you very much, and how dare you take away their ice cream? What if these children had already tasted the pleasures of adulthood, instead of needing to learn how to manage responsibility and power safely? We no longer capable of managing their power and responsibility at all. The boomers are not leaving as adults with dignity, wisdom, and forbearance. They are not accepting the decrepitude of age with courage or honor. Their rage at the dying of the light is childish, petulant howl. They are Benjamin Buttoning out of this world, clinging to the wealth and insisting on their independence as they grow even more dependent on those around them. They keep building and buying and voting to meet their own selfish wants as the world withers around them. We as a nation, as a species, as a families, as individuals and communities are frighteningly unprepared to handle the boomers as they age. They were given enormous power. One might even say they were spoiled beyond measure. Then they took more power and more reward to feed their ravenous appetites, and now they can't let it go. We don't have the foundational philosophy, social structure, or infrastructure, institutions to deal with this huge and unprecedented generation of the elderly. Thousands of years of cultural and social evolution created complex notions of wisdom and honor, respect for the elderly, not to mention time, honor, transfers of responsibility and control. In return for their sacrifice to the generations they birthed, those generations honored filial obligation, the filial, I can't even speak today, filial obligation to see them through to the painful and inevitable end. It is one thing the boomers failed to make the personal sacrifice necessary for their children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren's future. It's quite another that even unto the very last day, they still demand that everyone meet their selfish demands. A lot has been written about the damage the boomers have done over the decades. Here's a great article, and a lot will continue to be written. But I fear we have yet to grasp an attitude of their problems that lie ahead as this generation loses ever more of their senses. Wow, this is really tough on them. I still encourage you to take a look at this. If you have family members who fit this description, it's just something to be mindful about, because we're moving into a different age, and this stuff is going to become much more of a burden to you than anything else, especially that they point out in the article. I'm not sure what's going to be done. I'm not sure what's going to be done with the pension cuts as they get, as that becomes more and more apparent. I'm just saying that you have the largest generation. The millennials are coming after them, but if you have baby boomers, you need to be prepared. You need to take a look at articles and get yourself mentally at least prepared for that. And hopefully in time that may change some of their opinions. Again, it's not favorable in terms of reading for the baby boomers, but it's still something to pay attention to. It might provide a little brevity if you're facing one of these situations. I'll put a link in the description. As always, until my next video, I'm out. Please like, subscribe, leave some comments. I'm out.